Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
It is a special edition of Weather Weekly Snow Talk here as we gear up for a big winter storm invading the Midwest. It all starts on Sunday, January 5th, 2025, and we could be talking about some pretty hefty numbers. We'll walk you through the details in a special Weather Weekly podcast. It is Snow Talk. Coming up next.
Looking for ways to save on your energy bills? AES Indiana has you covered. From smart thermostats to home energy assessments, we offer simple solutions to keep your home comfortable and your costs down. AES can help you save money and energy with kits, tips, rebates, and more. Visit aesindiana.com/ways to save to learn more about how we can help you save money. AES Indiana, helping you discover real ways to save.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
All right, it is Snow Talk, Weather Weekly here. This will be a brief conversation about the impending or incoming snowfall. First of all, apologies if this did not go out a little bit earlier, but we're getting this out early Sunday morning. So those of you that were looking for a podcast version here, again, my apologies. But we'll get this going here before everything starts. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about the alerts first for central Indiana. Majority of central Indiana, and certainly the metro counties, so Marion, and then all of the donut counties surrounding Marion County, all under winter storm warnings. Now, the metro area, the times are a little different depending on where you're at. 10 a.m. Sunday to 7 p.m. Monday. And that was an adjusted time. I think it happened late Saturday night. Just extending the time for Monday, basically because of some gusty winds. And I'll talk about that in a second. If you're in southern parts of the state, basically south of Terre Haute, south of Martinsville, south of Shelbyville. So cities like Sullivan, Bloomfield, Bloomington, Greensburg, Nashville, Columbus, Seymour, Bedford, Vincent. You keep going south from there. Your winter storm warning begins at 7 a.m. on Sunday, and yours will continue until 7 p.m. on Monday. And again, you're going to see more impacts to snow earlier than everybody else. Okay? And then if you go way far north, you've got counties up north like Howard and Tippecanoe, Carroll, Clinton County. So that's Lafayette, Delphi, Kokomo, Frankfort, Tipton, Covington, those towns. And I believe also Marion, Hartford City, all included in the winter weather advisory, where you're going to have kind of a lower snow total. But I still think it's going to be impactful. Here's the bottom line, gang. Everybody is going to see snow. If you live in central Indiana, if you're able to watch us live on Wish TV, via cable or satellite or over the air, that you are under some sort of advisory or warning. The vast majority is under a warning, okay? Now, things are starting to come along. I'll mention that I'm recording this the day of the event, Sunday morning, pretty early. And, if you've been paying attention to the forecast, especially over since Friday and Saturday, there hasn't been too many drastic adjustments. Okay. And in terms of the time, well, let's do this. We'll start about the onset time, okay? And this is going to be when we're likely going to really pick up not heavy snow, but snowfall that will probably start to accumulate and impact your driving. And this is basically going to go from southwest to northeast, if you're visualizing on a map. All right, so Vincennes up to Sullivan, so that's southwestern Indiana, 7 a.m. start time. You go a little bit, east, Bedford, Lawrence County, you're talking 8 a.m. start time. Terre Haute down to Bloomington and Seymour, you're about at a 10 a.m. start time. Again, these are all Sunday, the 5th. We'll continue kind of east and northbound. Greencastle, Columbus, about 10 to 11 a.m. start time. You're starting to get into the metro counties, Franklin in Johnson County, northern Morgan County, we're talking 11 o'clock in the morning. You get into places like Greenwood, Shelbyville, out by the airport. So now you're starting to creep into Indianapolis. You're looking about noon start time. I think the heart of Indy, and this would also include Hendricks County. This would include northern Shelby County, places like New Pal. Downtown Indianapolis, probably about between noon and 1 p.m., I think. Probably more so about 1 p.m. North side of Indianapolis, Brownsburg, getting up toward Whitestown and Zionsville. You're looking at probably about a 2 p.m. start. We're probably not going to start seeing things ramping up for some of the higher populated northern metro counties like Carmel and Fishers and Noblesville until 4 p.m. That extends over toward Pendleton and LaPel, Madison County. And then go north of there, it's about 7 o'clock tonight. Places like Lafayette, Frankfort, Kokomo, Tipton, Anderson, Muncie, Winchester. Okay? I know I didn't name every city there, but hopefully you live close to one of those areas that I mentioned that gave you a little bit of information there. So that just kind of gives you a run through of the timetable, okay? In terms of snowfall, we haven't really made any changes. Most of the metro is going to be between 5 to 10, 6 to 10. I think 5 was kind of my base, and we may have upped that a little bit. But again, I said this a lot on my Facebook Lives. I think that double digits is definitely within reach. I think that's going to be a little bit south of I-70, but not too far south. I think places like Franklin and Bloomington and Columbus and Greensburg, maybe down to Bedford and Seymour. I think you guys are right in that swath where we could see several areas at double digits, okay? Around 10 inches of snow. Really, this is all going to pick up some steam. I mentioned when the onset of the snowfall comes, I think the hardest snow is likely going to start flying around probably close to dinner time, maybe a little bit before, especially if you're in southern Indiana. But I definitely think 6 p.m. to midnight, like, you shouldn't be on the roads. It's going to be really, really tough, okay? That's where most of our accumulation is going to happen. We could be seeing snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour as we go into that 6 p.m. to midnight time frame. But even overnight, I think we'll probably even be throwing some bouts of snow and freezing rain, some sleet in potentially. Through the overnight hours, and we'll probably still have some snow and moderate snow from daybreak on through lunchtime on Monday. But again, the heaviest snow, where it's going to be really, really difficult, it could be as early as late afternoon. I don't want to throw caution to the wind there. If you do have some errands to run, you got to get it done. The earlier, the better for your Sunday, because as we get later in the day, I think conditions are going to deteriorate, and they're going to go downhill very, very quickly later to this afternoon, and then most definitely this evening. All right. So again, back to, I know I kind of broad brushed I wanted to go back to the timeline there a little bit more. The accumulations, okay? In the advisory area, I think there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff. There's a good chance that places like Lafayette, Delphi, Kokomo, you may get around 4, 5, possibly up to 6 inches of snow. But there's a good chance you may be on the lower end, kind of at that 2 to 3 range. I know that's kind of but I do think there's going to be a very sharp cutoff. But look, there is a very thick line that's going to go over kind of central and southern Indiana where there's going to be a big thump of snow. And so a good chunk from basically the metro area south to the Ohio River, there's a good possibility of 6 to 10. And I do think there will be locally higher amounts. We'll go 10 plus. I wouldn't be shocked in that same area. And I think that's probably going to be, there's going to be kind of a thin band that could see up to a foot of snow, okay? And that would probably be down, I think, fair game right now, as of what we've seen in the morning. Cities like Terre Haute, Sullivan, Bloomington, Columbus, Greensburg, Franklin, maybe on the northern end of that. Same thing with Martinsville. So if you're kind of imagining like a little circle that we're drawing there, that's going to be kind of the zone that we'll watch for the potential for some heavier banding of snow, where we could easily get in the double digits, maybe even get up to a foot of snow. All right. So 6 to 10, I think, is going to be a pretty safe bet for most of central Indiana, unless you're, listening to us well to the north. Now, that is the snowfall. Again, there may be some ice potential as well. I think that happens, in the southern third of the state. I really think it's more of an ice, a scary ice issue, if you will, closer to the Ohio River. So out of the Wish TV viewing area, thankfully. But you get down to around Louisville, Evansville, they could be seeing over 1/4 of an inch of ice. It could be over 1/2 an inch in some of those communities down south. So that's not a good situation down there. But I don't think we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have some bouts of freezing drizzle. I think anywhere from I-70 and south could get, from 1/100th to at most maybe 1/10 of an inch of ice. But I think it's going to be kind of mixing intermittently with the snow. And I still think snow is going to be the primary moisture. Okay. All right. Lastly, then, what is also going to present some problems overnight, while the snow is going to kind of taper off, leading into daybreak, leading into Monday. I mean, tapering off probably isn't the right term. It won't be as heavy as what we anticipate through the heart of this storm, okay? Which is going to be, like I said, later tonight, 6 p.m. to midnight, kind of prime time for that. We're still going to have some snow flying around for the commute on Monday. I'm also concerned with some pretty gusty winds. I think we're going to have some pretty steady snow, and to be frank with you, I mean, it's still going to be pretty moderate. I bet we could probably additionally get at least a few more inches from central and southern Indiana. And I don't see the snow really wrapping up on Monday until around noon, maybe 1 o'clock. Also, the problem is, again, the winds could be gusting around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So, I mean, it's going to be near blizzard conditions. I don't know if we'll be meeting that official criteria. But, I mean, at that point, who cares? Whether we call it a blizzard or not, it's going to be tough to travel, I think, at any part of the day on Monday. So please be aware of that. I think that's going to be the key here. I'm not in the business of predicting business closings, school closings for sure. But just be prepared. Get yourself up early, so you're not caught off guard here. Hopefully, I mean, obviously we've been talking about this for days. So those of you that are just now finding out about it, where you been? No, I'm kidding. But again, it's just, we haven't had a big snow in a long time. And so it presents a whole different issue than, if we just get like a half an inch or an inch of snow and things are kind of slippery. This is going to create some significant travel issues on Monday. All right. Thankfully, once this ends on Monday afternoon, those that are going to have to go to work on, Monday evening drive is still going to be extremely difficult. But there should be a long stretch, from Monday afternoon all the way to the Tuesday morning drive that the plow drivers can start kind of cleaning things up for us so we can get back to a little bit of normalcy for Tuesday morning, hopefully. Depending on where you're at. I mean, if you get close to a foot of snow, it may take even longer for some of you to dig out, especially if you live out in some rural areas. So we'll see. But, again, we feel pretty confident on the numbers and the timing right now. So the big question mark, I think, is going to be, we're going to get some ice thrown in here. And some of our northern counties, I do think there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff, pretty sharp gradient. But from the metro area and south, I think it's going to be a pretty good thump of snow, and it's going to be a high impact event. So please take warnings seriously. I guess if there's any bright side to this, is that it is a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, Sunday overnight when the worst of the snow is going to be flying around. I know it doesn't help for people that have to work Monday morning, but this would be a far worse situation if this were to occur. If this would have been on a Monday, or any day of the work week, you think Monday through Friday, if this would have happened, and it would have been a quiet commute into work, but just a disaster trying to get home, I think that would have been chaos. And so you're going to have less people on the road on Sunday, and hopefully that leads to less accidents, less problems. And then we'll see how everything kind of plays out on Monday in terms of closings and delays and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully this will be kind of in an event like this, a best case scenario, to kind of limit any bad news. All right. So that's where we stand now. And again, I will be updating my Facebook accounts and all that kind of stuff throughout the day here, throughout the weekend as well. All right, we'll wrap things up coming up next here on Weather Week. Okay, just a quick recap here. 6 to 10 inches of snowfall, winter storm warnings in effect for central and southern Indiana. Really, the heavy snow starts to pick up as early as lunchtime. And I think as we get deeper into the afternoon, conditions are going to worsen. And then that 6 p.m. to midnight range, especially for, central Indiana, is going to be kind of the danger zone, right? That's where you want to stay off the roads. That's where things can get really, really nasty around our area. And then it's, on and off snow for the remainder of the overnight. Wind gusts up to 35. Morning commute is going to be rough. It's going to be tough. All right. So just if you have to go into work, lots of time. Give yourself lots of time, okay? But if you don't have to be on the roads, it's going to be one of those situations just advisable to stay home if you can, all right? This will all wrap up by Monday mid-afternoon. We'll quiet things down, and then we're just going to turn really, really cold next week. So the snow is not going anywhere anytime soon. Again, follow along on social media, Marcus Bailey Weather on Facebook, also on Instagram and X. Search for @Marcus Bailey on there as well. I've been updating TikTok intermittently as well, so you can check that out. And then, of course, our website, wishtv.com/weather, and our Storm Track 8 weather app, 24-hour-a-day access, including alerts, interactive radar, all that fun stuff that you can track the snow moving forward here for the next couple of days. And, of course, I will be in on the TV side. It's going to be an earlier shift, so I'll be in later Sunday night. But, of course, on my normal duties for Daybreak starting at 4 a.m., I'm sure we'll be doing some intermittent overnight cut-ins as well, leading into Daybreak, 4 a.m. Monday morning on Wish TV. Hope to see you there here locally in Central Indiana. While you're here, make sure to check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Have a wonderful weekend, rest of your weekend. Please stay safe. We'll talk to you soon, and God bless.
Discover Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.